Hey, what's up? Andrew Kramer here for VideoCopilot.net, and welcome to a top secret sneak peek at our new plugin, Optical Flares. Now, we're working on it, so some things are not the way they will be, but I'm just going to show you one feature. And that feature is the ability to link lens flares to 3D lights in After Effects. So I will say this is probably 1% of what this plugin is capable of. I'm not going to even show you what's behind the scenes, and we'll get into that another time. But for now, okay, so here we have a lens flare. Now, we're not going to talk about where this comes from just yet, but it's pretty cool looking and there's a lot of stuff going on. Now, I want this lens flare to connect to these 3D lights. Now, I've got a blog entry about, using some expressions, and those can be pretty helpful, but it can still be kind of cumbersome, and especially if you have a lot of lights. Like in this scene, we have 4 lights and just a quick little camera movement around some text. So it's a pretty simple scene, but I want to add some lens flares. So go ahead and turn optical flares on, and instead of worrying about the position of the flare, we're going to come down to auto positioning and set the source to track lights. And instantly, we now have lens flares that are linked to the position of all of the lights. Now, you might also notice that there's different colors here. We have sort of a purple, we have blue, we have green in the background here. And the reason why is that the lights here have a few settings changed on them. We have different color lights, different intensity, and all of that stuff is being accounted for when these lens flares are created. So it's very cool, it's very robust, and of course, with this plugin, it's all about control. So first of all, you can select what lights are being rendered, on, off, all. You can say, I want to just render lights that start with A. And you can see here that I've set up a few lights with A and B so that you can control the look of the lens flares for, say, A lights and B lights, or the color, etc. So we'll change that to anything for now. And there's a few other cool things happening. So these are basically 3D lens flares. So the ones right here close to the camera are larger, and the ones further away are somewhat smaller. Well, we know that there's going to come situations and times when you want to be able to control that. So we've included a disable 3D perspective, and what that does is makes it so that all of the lens flares render the same size. So that can be useful for various reasons, obviously, but you may also notice that there's still a size difference here, and the reason why is because we've linked the intensity of the light to the scale. And you can control this as needed. So here we have some lights at 60%, 100%, 60%, and so forth. So what you can do is uncheck use scale from intensity. And that way it won't use it. But otherwise, if you keep that on and you say take a light and make a change to it, the elements will actually scale as well as brighten up. And the other cool thing is you can say use intensity from light. And if you shut that off, then it's not going to use the intensity from the light, but rather from the plugin. So that's a pretty cool feature. And then we also, if we uncheck the light from intensity and the light from scale, then all we're left with is lens flares that are exactly the same size, no matter the distance to the camera. So there's obviously cases where that's useful, and so we want to make sure that you have all of the control that you need. We also have the use light color. So if we uncheck that, then we have just the light color from the actual lens flare. And likewise, if we go ahead and set it back up the way it was, we can also control the light color dynamically. So if we go in here and say change one of these lights to maybe, blue, then we have a blue light, or green, and, just very fast, very dynamic, and, you can create some cool looks. I'm going to switch it back here. We've got the GPU enabled. I'm going to go and just move the camera around, and we'll go ahead, uncheck disable 3D perspective so that we can see it a little bit better. And I'm just going to move the camera around. And you can see that we can really create some interesting effects So being able to do this really adds to your creative freedom. And, one of the things about this plugin is it's called Optical Flares because we really based all of the lens flare creation and elements on the way we saw it when we studied real lens flares for way longer than I care to tell you about. But anyways, I don't want to talk about any other features. Save your questions until we sort of roll out more specifics on everything because I don't want to, create any confusion. But I promise this is just one little part of everything that this plugin has to offer, and I can't wait to show you more. Anyway, I'm Andrew Kramer, and we'll see you next time.